Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 20th July 2017. The first article, The Big Squeeze on Civil Society. Here we need to understand what is civil society, what made the civil society to grow in India across the world, how this civil society is different from political parties, and how it contributes to democracy. As I said to you, the civil society is an intermediate space that is existing between the state and the citizens, the personal space of the citizens and the powerful state. Whatever the associations that are existing in between, we call them as civil society. Here, the political parties, they aspire for the power of the state, and so they participate in elections. And civil society will never participate in elections. Here my point is, the political parties are more interested in what is happening once in 5 years. It means they see the citizen more as a voter. And civil society sees the citizen more as a voice. It means civil society is concerned with what is happening within these 5 years. It means the civil society is more concerned with rights of the individuals, more concerned with equality, is more concerned with vulnerable people, more concerned with policy. So civil society is concerned with voice and political parties are mostly concerned with votes. So in India, 1980s, 70s are the times when the civil society strongly grew. It is majorly due to the centralization that has happened in government and also political parties. In response to this, there is a lot of space created at the grassroots level, which slowly gave the space for civil society to grow. If you take across the world, the disintegration of USSR and also the alternate spaces to give voice beyond the trade unions in communist countries has given rise to the space of civil society. So the civil society needs democracy to grow, and democracy needs civil society to get itself enriched. So here, the civil society is stated to be the oxygen of democracy. And today, many of the policies which cannot be conveyed, many of the intangible facts which cannot be conveyed to the people, the civil society is becoming the bridge to the government. So in a way, if elections are part of procedural democracy, the civil society is part of the substantive democracy. So here, there is a lot of conflict between state and the civil society on various issues. The civil society, as part of its responsibility, it is expected to criticize the state. And the state has to take it in a constructive notion, in a constructive engagement, so that a greater good can be achieved. But however, the state taking a tough stance against the civil society and this branding the civil society as anti-national, that is going to undermine the democracy. That is what this article is trying to tell us. BITs and pieces of trade with Israel. BIT stands for Bilateral Investment Treaty, and Israel and India have a lot of investment flow potential. As of now, Israel is the third largest defense exporter to India, and Israel, if it has BIT with India, it can lead to the Make in India, or we can benefit from Make in India perspective. But however, the BIT faces many challenges from both the perspectives. India wants to have a greater state control from its experience of Vodafone and also the Kane Energy deal. On the other hand, Israel wants more autonomy to the investor. So here let us see what are the differences. Investor-state disputes are seen in a very bad light by the Indian state due to the setbacks. Now, India states that any investor who has invested in India has to exhaust the local legal options before going for international arbitration. It means for 5 years he has to try in the local courts. All the attempts are exhausted. He is expected to go for international arbitration. It means flexibility and time is not going to be on to the side of the investor. On the other hand, Israel, it promotes a free arbitration in the international as per the international rules and norms. And second, most favored nation status to every investment that flows in. It means the state shall not make any discriminatory tax or loss provisions to these investors. But Indian BIT do not consider BMFNs. The tax issues, India sees the tax as a sovereign right, and the tax increase or decrease shall not come as part of the BIT, but the tax can affect the profits of the investors. So Israel BIT takes the tax also into consideration as a dispute. Now, if you take the Vodafone issue, here the major dispute is related to the tax. And third thing is, India, it do not define what is an investment, or it do not provide clarity what it considers an investment. Now, if you take Israel, the definition of investment is too broad. It includes both foreign direct investment and also portfolio investments. So because of these differences, we have to wait and see, can there be a bilateral investment treaty between the countries or not. If it is there, it will definitely help the Make in India program. Resignation drama. Now, political empowerment of Dalits, if we observe, they have first entered into bureaucracy and slowly they consolidated themselves as an independent identity. So the history of the BSP cannot be undermined in creation of this Dalit identity. So before Dalit identity, it is the identity of the oppressed. During Kanshiram era, he wanted BSP to the identity of all the oppressed, either it is minorities, Dalits, or ethnical, anything, it has to be represented by BSP. But when Mayawati has come to the central position in the party, the Dalit identity has been stressed at the cost of the other identities. And also the social engineering which she adopted, that is to bring Dalit and Brahmin together, has also diluted its credentials. So the present ongoing crisis of the party can be stated back to this, where it has lost its identity and credibility. Target Tehran. It is about Iran nuclear deal. You know that when President Obama was in office, he signed the Iran nuclear deal along with the other 7 countries, that is European Union countries. So in this, US cannot unilaterally move out. Mr. Trump, how rhetorical he may be with Iran nuclear deal, he has recertified it twice once he came to the office. Because is Iran adhering to the terms of the deal or not need to be certified by the president and submitted to the Congress. And at the same time, he also imposed the sanctions against Iran. So these, he justifies them saying, ballistic missile program of Iran and also the terror support Iran is offering is the reason for the sanctions. We need to acknowledge one thing. Iran is an important regional player in West Asia. That Trump's priorities may be towards Saudi Arabia and Israel. It is clearly established that there can be no solution for the problem of Iraq and Syria without engagement with Iran. So United States, rather than wedging the divides, it can build the bridges over here. Okay, next article on the OpenNet page, that is think beyond the load waivers. This can be directly a question in your UPSC. So what are the factors, or else do you think the loan waivers they work for the agricultural distress or rural distress? So when this question is asked, the answer directly flows from this article. Before going into this answer, let's understand certain situations which are existing in rural India. So it is not just the institutional credit, there are also non-institutional credit which farmers depend upon, and that forms a significant chunk of the rural debt. And second part is, most of the credit, it do not enter into the agriculture alone, it also moves out of the agriculture. For example, health, education, on this also rural households are going to spend their loans. And third, agricultural laborers, they do not have access to the credit and they mostly depend upon non-institutional credit. And these people are not going to be benefited. So, in these circumstances, let us understand the impact of the loan waivers. The first is, the loan waivers have many inclusion and exclusion errors. The people who are not supposed to be benefited, they may get benefited. Let's take if I have the land and I have given it on tenancy to another individual. So finally, the farm loan or loan waiver is going to be enjoyed by me rather than by my tenant. And this is an inclusion or exclusion errors which can be possible. And the right people may not be included and wrong people get included. And second is, it only addresses the institutional credit. And third thing, agricultural laborers, etc., will not get benefited. The financial discipline in the rural side is going to be disturbed. It will have long term impact for the banking sector. And the capital investment in the agriculture is necessary to raise the incomes of the farmers in the long run. So now, loan waivers will lead to the diversion of the money away from the capital investment towards this. So, in this context, what is the best way forward? Rising the real incomes of the farmers. How can we do that? One is we can improve the cost of the farm produce, rising the minimum support prices, government making sure that the goods are not being sold below the cost of the minimum support prices, and all the crops shall be provided with MSP. And second is the non-farm income of the farmers have to be raised. So these are the things which are being suggested by this article. Let's get into the news page. Can privacy be an absolute right? That is what is the Supreme Court is talking about. You know that MP Singh case and Kehar Singh case, we have MP Sharma and Kehar Singh case, we have this. The right to privacy is not been stated as a fundamental right. So if right to privacy is being adjudged as a fundamental right by the Supreme Court, then Aadhaar can get certain restrictions. So if it is not been declared as a fundamental right or just as a legal right, then obviously Aadhaar is going to invade every aspect of our life. That is what is the thing which is the debate is going on. And then GST will expand the tax net. So according to this, the GST will provide or bring more people within the tax net. That is what is Mr. Jaitley is trying to explain us.